Hello and welcome to the aForm Show, the premier podcast for all things architecture and design across the MENA region. Welcome to your tribe. Today's episode is supported by SkyStruct, the groundbreaking construction and project management solution that's absolutely turning heads in the industry. They are bringing together architects, engineers, project managers, procurement, and essentially any stakeholder onto one singular platform. Yes, clients are included. SkyStruct is genuinely changing the game. Its tailored modules for construction management, inventory, labor, cost management help streamline the chaos of construction projects. They are rolling out very soon in Dubai, but you as the listener can get in early. Drop us an email at hello@aform.studio and find out how SkyStruct is the future, and it is here today. Now, let's get into the episode. Hello and welcome to the show, everyone. Today we are joined by Professor Nikhil Mathew. Nikhil is a professor of interior design and practices in Dubai. In addition to being an educator, Nikhil specializes in interior architecture and has actively delivered a vast portfolio of projects. Much to pick up from today's episode. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Hello. Hi, guys. Alan, first of all, thank you very much for having me on the show. I have been sort of listening to some of your podcasts and it's quite interesting. It's quite interesting to just listen, just drive back or sort of like commute back and forth from work and just listen to all of the amazing people that you have on, the host, of course, you, who asks a lot of interesting questions and makes it fun for the listeners. So thank you very much for having me. And hi, guys, how's it going?
Is it fair to say that you're a fan? I feel like you're a fan. You sound like a fan. I've never had one of our fans on before.
Just going with a trend. I don't know if you're going to talk about trends and everything, but I hope all of you guys have listened to They Not Like Us by Kendrick Lamar. But so the word fan just reminded me of that.
There's some subtle messaging there.
yeah, pretty much.
All right,
but
man.
yeah, definitely would call myself a true listener to the show and, somebody who follows recent episodes, I guess.
Awesome. Yeah. Cool, man. Well, obviously, we kind of go way back.
Yeah.
Shout out to Anik if you're listening to this episode. Like, you kind of put us together, I suppose. I guess what I want to do is you've, in a way, I feel, had like two different careers in the same time frame, so to speak. So I want to start with the unifying factor in that, which is interior design, right? So interior design is something which I feel personally is something which you study if you have some kind of affinity / calling / interest in.
Yeah.
So I want to start over there and ask you, did you find interior design or did interior design find you? What's the deal?
I think it sort of goes both ways because, my interest sort of started lying where in high school, I used to watch this show called MTV Cribs. I don't know if you've heard about it.
MTV Cribs, X to the Z.
X to the Z, yeah. All of these guys, all of the famous hip hop artists and Akon's house and...
Yeah. That was. We got to keep this episode clean, man.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But that was a very interesting TV show.
Yeah, it was. So that's what really got me into interior design.
Okay.
Right? So
MTV Cribs.
Yeah, actually, I used to really religiously watch it a lot. And I don't know, maybe because it was also sort of tied to the music factor as well. So I used to watch episodes back to back and rewatch episodes and be like, oh, that's pretty cool. That's a nice marble slab or that's a really tall roof. And, that's something cool to do. And like thinking about people and how they live in spaces, because most of the time we spend time indoors, right?
Right.
We spend time outdoors, but making that whole experience of sort of like a human-centric experience of letting people enjoy where they live. Starting off with, living in residential projects, but that's truly where my interest lies. I'm not really sure if the listeners know about MTV Cribs. It depends. I guess if it's, kids, if it's people from the 90s, they might.
Yeah.
But I feel like the later generation may or may not know about MTV Cribs. But again, guys, do look at it. It's quite interesting. It still is quite nice, but that's where it really started. And that's where I think passion is too cliche. I would just say interest. So I was interested in it.
Right.
And I did want to take it as a career in where, I'm designing spaces for, famous people, I guess.
All right. Yeah. As long as that's what, kind of sparked the interest, that's always, key. So I want to then ask, right? You obviously study interior design.
Yeah.
You practice / work as an interior designer.
Yeah.
You've done awesome work, no doubt. Right?
Why? Okay. Yeah.
Why then look at education.
Yep.
Now, this is not critical because I've done the exact same thing. Everyone knows, I kind of always have one foot here, one foot there between, education and practice.
Yeah.
But I want to hear from you, why the full commitment
Okay.
to education?
Yeah. Okay. So the industry, quite interesting. I've done it for over 8 years. I would say about 9 years. So yes, I started off a little bit of story attached to it. I'm not really sure if I can give you a direct answer, but I think it's important for the listeners and us to sort of know where
it's all about context, man. It's all
Absolutely.
about context.
Yeah. So I started off working. So I've done my bachelor's of interior design. I've done my master's of interior design. While I was doing my first master's, yes, I've done two, but anyways, while I was doing my first master's, I was working as well as a junior interior designer. And so over the years, I sort of picked up interest and I really found out where I liked to go. I was not really about just sitting in front of the computer and designing. Yes, I did like to do that. I like to develop concepts. I like to sketch and I like to use all of the softwares and make, things look beautiful in rendering. But I was more of like the site guy. I used to really love or enjoy looking at designs being built in front of my eyes, even though it takes time, it takes months and, it probably take a year or 2 years or whatever. But the feeling of seeing your design sort of come to life always intrigued me.
It's unreal. It's an unreal feeling.
It is. So, that's where my sort of interest lied and it slowly started shifting onto project management. So yes, started off as an interior designer, worked in a few projects, worked on commercial projects, a few residential projects. This was while I was doing my first master's, right? So worked there for some time. I also got some exposure of exhibition design for a few years where I did work as a designer and a project coordinator, right? So in that field, I sort of, grew, just learned whatever I had to. And then
I suppose there's a much more sort of like technical side of things also, not just design.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So design it's amazing. Like it's, words can't really explain what design is. Design is literally everything that you see around. You open your eyes and you see design everywhere in every element in, let's say the bottle of water that we have here or the box of tissue that we have here, the table that we have here. So bringing that to life and seeing it come to life was what I was really interested in. So did that for a few years, did a lot of that for a few years. So my sort of career shifted more into project management and really, talking with the clients and making sure that the project runs on time. And with the, promised quality. So did that for many years. And I think where it really hit me was when I started working for the Expo, right? So I was working for the Expo for a few months, for about 4 months. And I hope all of you guys have, been to the Expo when the show was going on.
I'm pretty sure
right?
most people have. Yeah.
So you remember those carts or those buses that used to take, you guys from the parking to the actual expo site?
Yeah.
We didn't have that back then when the construction was going on.
The simple pleasures, pleasures of life.
So that was quite difficult. It was very interesting. I loved it. But the only thing is I was wearing hard hats and I was wearing safety shoes and just walking from the parking all the way inside into different pavilions and different areas and just managing the sites and making sure that everything is running. And this is, by the way, peak summer, heavy shoes, heavy helmet, safety vest, just walking,
Yeah.
So then I was just thinking and, they're just reflecting back, I think most of us have these moments in which we reflect back on, this is really what I like or what I enjoy doing. I would still like it, but I wanted a change. I wanted sort of a career change. And, when most of the times when people ask me why the shift to academia, I say now I come back home with clean shoes. I don't know if you guys can relate back there, but anyone who's been to a site, right, to an interior site can very well understand because you never come back home with clean shoes. It's always going to be dusty. You're always going to be sweaty. You're always going to be tired. But now I think it's different. It's much, much more different, but that's not the only reason. So academia and teaching sort of came off as, okay, let me try this out. Let me try if I actually like it, or let me see if I have the passion for it. So yes, I tried it out and it was one of the most rewarding job I've ever done. It was something that, all of those years which you have spent on yourself learning, working in the industry, to sort of relate it back to the students who are there in front of you with, open minds and open hearts to learn, right? To teach them about design, to sort of develop their understanding about design and to see their projects come to life, it's amazing.
All right. Okay.
So yeah, it's a very rewarding job. I really enjoy it. And now I think it's become more of that. It's no more the clean shoes, which I was talking about. Like, I don't think I really cared for it, but it's more of, it is very rewarding. Once I finish the day of, let's say, teaching, it feels good inside that, you've impacted another person's life with education, or you've really taught them something which will help them for their future.
Understood.
Right?
Understood.
So, yeah.
Makes sense.
Sorry if that was way too long, but
no, it's all good, man. It's all good. I mean, it obviously provides insight, right, as to why you do what you do, which is always fine.
Absolutely.
I kind of then want to ask you a very selfish question.
Please
right?
do.
Because this is now, I myself have also taught, both in a adjunct capability and in a full-time, so to speak. So it's kind of like a two-parter. So I'll ask you the first part.
Sure.
Right? I suppose what I'm trying to phrase together is, which is more rewarding? Right? And it's a very tricky thing to answer. So you can take your time. Something you've designed and you see it come to life.
Yeah.
On the one hand. On the other hand, a student who is really passionate, who you could kind of fuel the flame for, and see them really blossom and become really successful.
Yeah.
Which is more satisfying to you?
I don't really have to take much time for that. The second option for sure, any day.
It's not even close.
No, it's not even close. It's not even close, because that's where, again, I know we've spoken about passion and what you really, really like doing. It's about you waking up and you enjoying, or that you're going to enjoy the day, right? Because you love what you do. I never felt that before when I was in the industry, but yes, the answer to that is definitely educating a student, giving them an experience which they have never got before, giving them the whole 360 of interior design and anything design related, and seeing their designs come to life is absolutely more rewarding than the first option.
All right, man. We need more people like you. And I'll tell you why, right? Because full disclosure, when I did it, right, I kind of went in thinking academia would be a certain way.
Yeah.
And I think what my sort of naivete or thinking was that I thought of university as how I went to university.
Yeah.
Right. So in my mind, professors come in, they teach a class, they teach a studio, they leave, they have papers to correct or the studio to mark up and be a jury on, full stop.
Yeah.
But in reality, once I actually started teaching, I realized that the actual teaching part of being in academia is 5%, if not less.
True. Yeah. I would say give or take 5 to 10%. Yeah.
Yeah. But there's this whole other chunk, which I think many people, even if there are people who are now listening to us and thinking, I think I want to try the whole academia thing, right? I think I would make a good professor, interior design, architecture, whatever it may be. Yeah. I would want to share that there's actually a much more diverse, deeper sort of job profile.
Yeah, absolutely.
There. I was overwhelmed initially when I started looking at, wait, this is a rubric and these are like CLOs and learning outcomes and, this is how, people actually get marked. What? And then there's like multiple types of exams and different, pedagogies to like go through and, oh wait, so that's just what I do. And then there's a whole university standard, which is a whole other separate thing.
Yeah.
So I guess my question to you is, well, sort of in spite of all of that, do you think that you would still want to do academia?
Absolutely, yes. So see, now, to be honest with you, I think a job or, let's say a person who works in the industry, academia, a university, an office, interior design, architect, I think they truly start enjoying their work if the team is right, if they work with the right people, if they work with the right kind of people with the... not saying necessarily that they need to have similar approaches to you. They may have different approaches, but it needs to be a good team.
Correct.
It needs to be a good team of people who work together well. That usually works out. But if that's not the case, then, you definitely need to look for something which makes you sort of satisfied. But yeah, coming back to the point about, yes, I do agree. It's only about like 5 to 10% is teaching, and the rest of the things are more of markings and gradings and feedback and, engaging them with the industry and a lot of different things. Somebody who's new to academia will take some time to get used to that, right? But to get used to that, once again, it relates back to the topic of you need the right people to help you get used to that.
Correct.
And when they do, and when it takes you maybe even a few months to get used to that, it doesn't really make much of a difference, because you know that yes, that's a part of your job. You have to do it to see sort of like the final outcome, but it never goes sort of above and beyond your passion for teaching. If you really have that passion for teaching, all of the, let's say 95% or the 90% of the work which you really have to do, which is grading and marking and giving feedback and it's whatever I mentioned, it actually becomes nothing. Like it doesn't get too stressful. It becomes sort of like a routine. You sort of get used to it with the right people around.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I kind of then want to, I suppose, put myself and the industry in the hot seat now.
Please.
And ask you, I mean, this is a fairly, I feel at this point it's become an age-old question, but I don't want the standard answer, right?
Okay. So I'll try my best.
so my question is going to be, because you're someone who has obviously worked in industry, then gone academia, you know what goes down when you're actually working in a career, so to speak, right? This region in particular, design students, interior design architecture students get a lot of heat when they graduate from the industry, saying, oh, these kids, they don't know the basics, they don't know this, they don't know that, etc., right? And there's obviously the whole conversation about, how do we bridge that gap? How do we, give them the right skills without overstepping on, other types of development that happens and so on. We don't want to over-educate them. But we don't want to under-educate them.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of conversation around this. And eventually it comes down to how can we as industry help and bridge that gap, right?
Yeah.
Now, the standard thing that everyone eventually falls to and gives is that the students should do more internships, longer internships, more frequent internships.
Yeah.
And there should be more engagement from professionals via juries, talks, etc.
Yeah.
That's where I feel the conversation is at.
Usually, yeah.
From your experience, do you think there is more that can be done? And if so, what can we do?
This is actually a very interesting question, because do we have time in the industry?
Good point.
Yeah. Do we have time in the industry to cater to fresh graduates? Are we always looking for people with experience? Do we have time to cater to students to do internships? I don't know. I don't think so. Not a lot of us do, right? Not a lot of design companies have that, because they keep having projects and it keeps running on a schedule, right? It runs on a specific schedule, and a lot of them, or I'm not trying to look down upon the industry or anything like that. I'm still with the industry. I mean, I'm still working closely with the students, and most of my connections are either architects or interior designers, so still quite relevant there. But if we find the time to look at students and look at prospects and really cater to basically spend some time right for the students to develop, you'll see the magic happening. You'll see that the switch of them understanding or sort of jumping that bridge is much faster, right? So the question of how can you bridge the gap would be relevant to a lot of people, but it may not be relevant to a lot of people because they don't have the time to bridge that gap. Right.
No, I was asking more along the lines of, like, let's say, utopian situation.
Yeah.
Right. REBA suddenly comes out and says all REBA practices as part of your REBA accreditation, for example, need to have 2 of your architects donate 40 working hours every quarter, for example, to academia, right? So there you go. Now the time's given.
That's amazing. We love that.
Right? But I suppose my question is a bit more tactile. Let's say you get the time.
Yeah.
What would you want them to do?
Okay. So a few different things what I would want them to do is basically see now integrating industry time into academia, especially in the final years, is very important, right? So as a part of, of course, you have graduated, you are an architect, right? So you know all of the client briefs and all of the hypothetical projects that we get in the university, but bridging that gap to actually spending time in giving them real projects and giving them real feedback from real clients and giving them industry analysis and industry critical analysis about their design development will really bridge the gap, will start to bridge the gap, right? So I would say at maybe the end of the second year or third year, if they can actually step into the industry, get an exposure into the industry, and come back to the university to say that, hey, this is my project, this is the brief that I have gotten, here's how I've started, here's my feedback number one, which I have got from, let's say my senior designer, here's feedback number two, which I've got directly from real clients. So really looking at live projects, really looking at real projects which students can really get their hands on.
Right.
Spend time working on it, spend time developing it, spend time. A big factor about students is also that a lot of students nowadays prefer to work individually. That's actually it's not a great thing to look at in the industry because all of us work in groups, right?
Yeah, 100%.
There's not one person working for one project. It's definitely almost 99% going to be multiple people working on one project.
Yeah. I mean, even if you're not just to clarify for, people listening, multiple stakeholders, right? So even if you're one designer in one company, yes, you could be the one designer, but you will at the very least work with a contractor who at the very least will have some subcontractors. So therefore already you have a team of at least 5-6 people.
Absolutely.
So in that sense, yes, a team. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, getting them to understand how it is working with different people in the industry, with, let's say, contractors, subcontractors, the clients, working in groups itself of like, let's say students or let's say two designers. How do they brainstorm different ideas and how do they come up with conclusions? How do you empathize with design? I know that's a big word, which, I think a lot of us use, but I don't know if we really understand the meaning of empathy. It's completely forgetting about what you feel. It's not about, okay, I like this design, I'm going to do it. It's not about that, but it's about what are the clients really looking for?
Right.
Understanding that, I think will be one of the first steps for students to bridge that gap, or the chance for industry to bridge that gap between academia and the industry for the students. And then, of course, a lot of visits to the different showrooms, different interior design companies, getting talks, understanding, and really sort of shadowing a junior and a senior interior designer and understanding what they do on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
Understanding what an FF&E is, who does that, and, understanding what a draftsman does, understanding how the different machines work. How do you translate some of, let's say AutoCAD or 2D drawings into machines that cut for you, or how people manually cut. So really going into the industry, going into the offices, touching materials, feeling materials, talking to clients. I think that is some of the start of how, we can truly bridge the gap.
Got it. All makes sense and all valid. I suppose we just need to find a way to make the time for it, like you said. That's kind of the summary of it. Interesting. All right. Hot seat back to you. A question now, which a fairly hot topic.
Yeah.
But I'd be interested to know how you, as Professor Nikhil, is dealing with this.
Yeah.
Which is the whole rise of AI, ChatGPT, Mid-Journey, etc.
Yeah.
In industry, although we're not even close to academia, we are now thinking, hey, how would I stop a student to just ChatGPT and Mid-Journey their way through the entire semester?
Yeah.
Technically it's possible, but on the other hand, we don't want to, shut them off from it because it is a reality. It is something which is now becoming part of the industry. So yes, they should have exposure to it, but how do we control that? How do we sort of rein it in when we have to and then let it go when we have to, so to speak?
Yeah.
So is this something which you guys are also thinking about in terms of how do we navigate this with the students?
So I think we've taken a little bit of a different approach to it. So different people think of it differently. Some people are quite skeptical about it, right? Some people love it. What we do is we use it, right?
Okay.
We use it for inspirations. Right. And I think AI, like let's say Mid-Journey and all of the things that we spoke about are really good tools. We use it as tools, not for the final product or not for the final outcome, but something that derives inspiration. So we are actually quite open to it, as long as a student is not really submitting an AI generated version of a 3D render or, an essay or something that's written by ChatGPT directly. We are okay with it. And by the way, yes, we do have softwares in place right now to find if it is written by a bot. So, when students actually submit online, we do have certain algorithms which sort of calculates that and tells us that, how many % of it is done by a robot, or, if it's 100% robot or 1%, 2%, 3%. We have
Right.
ways to sort of look at that. So that's the only thing that sort of helps us with grading, right? If not, we're actually quite open to it. If a student wants to look at it in terms of inspiration to derive a new design or to be sort of innovative, right?
Right.
So a lot of us, the word innovative and creativity is actually overused a lot, and usually what a professor would come to, again, I'm not talking about anyone in specific, but a lot of design professors, what they actually do, even when I was in university back in the days, they used to always come in and say, hey, guys or girls or ladies or men, be creative. And we were just wondering, what is creative? How can you be creative? Nobody tells us how you can be creative, right? So I think that is the role of a professor who teaches design. You need to start going into the steps of how can you be creative? What is a concept?
Right.
Really boiling down into what is innovation? Is it something that is different? Is it something that's new and unique to your design and your design thinking skills? So, and I feel like AI and ChatGPT, those are actually tools to help you get some ideas or get some initial ideas in the design phase or in the initial design phase to develop something that is true to yourself for the final outcome.
Gotcha.
So we are just embracing it actually.
Okay.
If you ask me, we like it. Of course, we advise students not to use it directly and submit stuff because,
of course, they will get caught. We know now.
That and there's no real creativity or there's no real challenge in that.
Got it. Okay. All right. So this is now a bit more of a philosophical question, right? This is something which I've been thinking about recently, which is in general, the entire grading system, right? I think you touched upon creativity, which is actually my argument in this, right? Which is, can you genuinely grade creativity, right? Because I suppose it is fairly subjective.
Yeah.
Yes, you can put frameworks around it in the sense that you can say, okay, there's, this drawing quality and there's, these submittals, and therefore, you can sort of create like a checkbox of sorts and therefore grade based on that. I agree completely. But if you remove all of that and just look at grading creativity, grading a concept, the depth of a concept, the thinking behind it and so on, can there be a framework for it? Can we actually grade creativity and say, yeah, you're 70% creative today, you're 90% creative today? And if we go down the route of percentages, is there 100% perfect creative design? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Okay, 100% creative, I don't think that exists.
Okay.
Not really sure if that really exists. And 100% marks is something that we as, lecturers or professors of interior design, we don't usually give away because that's a very high level of grading. But this question is actually quite interesting because yes, we do have, like what we spoke about, we do have certain rubrics for each, let's say, project. And we have rubrics, we have learning outcomes, which are quite in depth, right? Which are, it's not something that's quite short. Again, it depends from different universities, right? But it really mentions or really talks about what we are looking for in the specific project that you're looking. I don't mean what specific style, but what are some of the things that we're really looking for? So I believe grading that, of course, we have to grade at some point, right? So for that, learning outcomes, rubrics, and marking criteria are some of the things that help us as professors or lecturers in interior design to grade the students based on a few things, right? A few things that is clearly mentioned there. And how do you grade? So see, actually design is quite tricky, right? So let me give you an example. Let's say you have 2 pages. Let's say you have 2 landscape A4 size sheets, right? In one, there is a brush stroke.
Right.
In the other one, there is the same brush stroke, but it's mentioned that the concept of this brush stroke is, I don't know, let's say curvilinear design, or it's a building designed by Zaha Hadid, and looking at the detailed elements of it and sort of embracing the design aspect of the materiality. And when you start explaining the design of what your thinking was, that's how we understand it. Right. So you can have two sets of pages, one with a stroke and one with a stroke, and a description of what you have thought of. That really helps us to read through and understand what went in your mind, or how that basis of creativity really came in, and automatically your grades go up.
So is it fair to say that it's more about communicating the narrative.
Absolutely. Communicating the narrative, communicating the context, absolutely communicating everything that went through your mind from the start of the design to the end of the design.
All right.
It could be a bunch of critical analysis in between. It could be a bunch of thought process, design iterations, design explorations, models that you really looked at. So us seeing the process of design. So coming back to your question once again. So it's easy to show a final outcome, right? Of, okay, here is my office space, which really improves health and well-being of the employees, right? Versus here is how I've started off. Here is when I've got my brief. I'm really looking at breaking down the brief, asking questions to the clients, noting them down, starting off with the concept, looking at how this aligns with what the client has spoken about, having meetings with the client, working on design iteration 1, iteration 2, iteration 3, final outcome.
Got it.
When we see that whole process, it gets quite easy for us to grade.
Understood.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
That is what I was hoping the answer would be. Selfishly, I suppose. Because it then means that, there won't be that one crazy eccentric designer where everyone kind of just, says, oh, that is awesome, but no one really knows why it's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's good. And it's good that that's being valued in academia, because again, one of the biggest things which I constantly try to tell students and even graduates is that, yes, design is one thing and that's fine. Yes, you absolutely should learn it, but communicating that is, I would say, equally, if not slightly less important than being a good designer. Because I love the example you gave, because it is exactly that. You can have, the same design on both sides, but if one doesn't communicate what that is, it can very easily be lost in translation.
Absolutely.
Easily. I mean, it's not even a difficult thing, for it to be lost. So yeah, that is awesome. So, Professor Nikhil. I like calling you Professor Nikhil. It sounds very...
By the way, guys, I'm not that old. Just kidding.
It sounds very distinguished.
Yeah. I sound older when you say that, but yeah, anyways.
As we sort of wind down the episode, I like looking forward, right?
Yeah.
So I guess typically for people in industry, it would typically mean, what are they thinking about? What kind of projects they want to work on? Yeah. What do they want to do with their career in 5 years? Do they want to start a boutique? Do they want to become a director? Do they want to become a regional director? Whatever it is, it's, or concurrently, I want to retire, whatever it may be. So it's an interesting question for you, because I don't know, what does Professor Nikhil want to do in the next 4 to 5 years? What do you want to be working towards? What do you want to change? Okay. What do you want to come back to the dark side and join us in the industry?
I mean, I don't know. I still get my hints of the industry once in a while, because especially when, I try to, again, coming back to the concept of bridging the gap, when I try to bridge the gap between the industry and academia, yes,
I pull you back in.
Oh yeah, no, that's not happening. Sorry guys, but yeah. No, I love the industry. I love all of my friends and all of my colleagues who actually work in the industry and, really work hard and smart, of course, because that's how we need to be. But no, I truly give hats off to people who work in the industry, people who work overnights, people who start working at 12 o'clock, because that's what I used to do, 12 o'clock at midnight, because everyone's sleeping and the construction goes on. But really, hats off to them. My plans for the next 5 years is, I'm actually not planning to give up academia. I am going to continue academia until I can, until it's possible. I don't think it'll ever be impossible. So I think in the next 5, 10, 15 years, I'm still going to be teaching and most definitely design. But what I also want to do is, in the future, I want to bring the students who I teach into a space where they can practice as well. When they're in the university, right? Where they can come back and, look at materials, understand how clients talk, understand how things work in the industry, sort of making it easier for the students
to get that exposure
directly, So right now what I do is, yes, I, reach out to a lot of different people and, try to have industry visits. Yes, I appreciate that and everyone's quite welcome, but I want to make it a little bit more easier for them, provide them opportunities, because yes, even a lot of my students are like, hey, sir, can we come work for you?
Right.
So, I want to really cater to that in the next 5 years. I want to really cater to enhancing their learning experience in any way possible, because I'm not the type of person who looks out for restrictions. So there's two things: restrictions and constraints, right? So I'm a person who likes to break rules. I will always break the rules, because I don't think there's no real sense of creativity, or there's no real sense of passion if you're going to stay inside the box and cater to the rules. By rules, by the way, I don't mean laws, guys. Laws you should definitely follow, but what I mean is, there is no boundaries. There is no boundaries of how you push your limits. If you think something is impossible, you make sure that it is possible, and it will be possible, and you keep striving for it no matter what.
Yeah.
Right. So that's something that I want to give off to my students, and anyone who's listening, that you keep trying hard, you keep pushing, and even if the whole world doesn't believe in what you want to do, you still believe in what you want to do, right? Yeah. So that's the whole point. Actually, Alan had asked me what my new tattoo is, and it says conviction, right? So
conviction.
I have a tattoo which says conviction. It's basically staying true to yourself and believing in yourself no matter what.
Yeah.
Right. And staying convicted to your beliefs and taking it to the next level. And yep, in 5 years, hopefully, I want to have a studio of my own where, yes, we are going to have projects, but it will be open doors for students from all universities to come in and practice design.
Right.
And get the sense of how construction and interior design is in Dubai, because it's booming, right? UAE, Dubai, construction is booming, and it's only going to triple in the next year or two, right? So yeah, making that whole experience interesting for my students and myself is what I'm looking at.
Interesting answer. I just by listening now, I think I have a solution for you.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it off air, but because it requires a few names to be dropped and a couple of what's the word I'm looking for? A little bit of innovation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think I have something which could make that happen.
That's
so
amazing.
I'm excited.
Looking
Awesome.
forward.
So yeah, man, as we're sort of, at the finish line of the episode, so to speak, we have something called the aForm tradition, which is basically a question asked by one of our previous guests.
Okay.
Blindly, not knowing who the next guest is. So we have a question for you today.
Okay. Interesting.
Feel free to take your time to answer.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The question that we have for you today is there an interior design trend that you do not agree with?
Is there an interior design trend that I do not agree with?
Don't agree with, don't like with, think it does more harm than good, just don't like the aesthetic of it, whatever, but something that is trending, which you think is like, not really that I think too.
I don't know. I just think that I'm a type of person who, I feel like design is just subjective. Honestly, it could be different to different people, and different styles and different trends could appear different to different people. So honestly speaking, I don't really dislike any specific trend, but there's something specific that I do wish was better.
Mm-hmm.
The whole talk about sustainability, right?
That's a big one.
Because I think that's very important. And I really, really think that a lot of students don't understand it. No matter what, just adding a planter in your office doesn't make the design sustainable.
Or adding a solar panel on your roof.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Right.
Yeah.
Adding a solar panel on your roof, adding a planter, and that does not make your...
Adding a planter is now also biophilic, did you hear?
Oh, yeah. Again, all of these words...
Big, because now I'm sustainable and biophilic.
Yeah. These words are, oh my God, it's something that, every time I hear and understand, okay, a lot of people call their projects, I'm not talking about only students, by the way, I'm talking about even
100%,
professionals,
100%.
industry. When you say sustainable, what is it really doing? Is it really helping people more than it should? Is it giving back what we let out in terms of, let's say, carbon emissions? Is it helping to regain that, or sort of, I think regain is not the right terminology.
Mitigate?
Is it only mitigating, or is it giving it twofold? Is it improving our quality of lives way more than
if it wasn't there?
If it wasn't there, and way more than the temperatures rising 1.5 every year.
Right.
Can we do more than that?
Right.
In terms of design, in terms of any design, it's, again, is it about just picking one piece of furniture that is sustainable? And what do you mean by that? What is greenwashing? What is circular economy? I'll tell you a funny, I'll tell you something that I think is funny. I'm not really sure if the listeners will, think that it's funny, but there's something known as last minute greening. Okay, so in interior design projects and architecture projects, something that we do is, okay, we listen to the client brief. We understand what are the type of projects they want. We start building it. We start developing it. We start putting in concepts. We start finalizing materials. We have initial meetings. And at the end of the project, we just sprinkle a little bit of green on top, like as if it's a garnishing of, something that you eat.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the way to go.
Putting the parsley on the roast.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I don't think that's the way to go. I think the way to go is in your first or second step, you should start thinking about sustainability and start thinking about what are the things you do in a sustainable process or in a sustainable manner to reach the end result, right? Because that's what just, it's sort of, I wouldn't say pisses me off. I think that's a very strong word, but when people just pick out sustainable materials and when they put like a few solar panels and they call it a day, that's when it just really,
angers you.
Yeah, frustrates me a little bit. But, really identifying and using things to give back twofold, to reuse, to educate people about what sustainability actually is, to live. It's not only about preaching about sustainability. It's not only about talking about it, but living a sustainable life is important as well.
All right.
So, yeah, I think that's the only thing. But rest of that, trends, styles, I'm not against any of it. Again, it's very subjective. Different people like it different way. So yeah.
Got it. Awesome, man. I mean, you touched upon so many things, greenwashing itself, which it's a bit of a trigger for me. So we can do like a whole other different episode on greenwashing itself.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, our time has come to an end.
Yeah.
Nikhil, as always, man, thank you so much for, giving us your time. This is, I think more conversations like this have to happen. Whether you agree, disagree, whatever it is, at least having conversation is a step in the right direction.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me once again, Alan. And yeah, it was a pleasure being here. Thank you for taking some time. I know all of us are busy, right? Like what we spoke about, all of us designers, architects, we're all busy. But to Alan, thank you very much for taking some time on a weekday and listening to me.
All right.
Thank you. And looking forward to having more of this in the future.
Awesome. All right. Cool. So once again, thank you so much for your time. We look forward to having you on the show in the future. And for the rest of you guys, we will catch you guys next week. Fellow aFormer, thank you so much for your time. If this episode added any value to you, please share it with anyone who may benefit. If you want to carry on the discussion, please get in touch with us over socials. We are at aForm Show on the gram and hello@aform.studio on email. That is at aForm Show on the gram and hello@aform.studio on email. Until next time, stay inspired.